So just a reminder, what we're learning about is working out perimeter of rectangles, squares, and I'm going to touch on shapes as well. So you can see this is what we're learning, to work out perimeter of rectangles and squares, but I'll also touch on other shapes. So with perimeter, you can measure it in a number of different ways. Now this is all about measurement, it's not capacity or anything like that, this is about measurement. So you can measure perimeter in millimeters, centimeters, meters, and it can even be kilometers as well. And then moving on, I know we're focusing on perimeter, but in area there's matchups there. So this is our unit of measurements that we're looking at. So if you're measuring the area of a particular shape, you just add a square because we're working in square units, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. So there's my little square unit. So that's why we use the little number 2 up here, because it matches up with the squared unit. So with perimeter, I like to use formulas with maths. Maths is great. With perimeter, we use a formula to work it out really quickly and easy. It's length plus width, and we add those two together times by 2. So we're working out the perimeter of this shape. So I'm going to have a go. This is I do. You can see the I do here. Sorry if it's not too straight. And we're going to be working out the perimeter of this particular rectangle. So this formula works with rectangles and squares. You can see here we've got some of the measurements here, and these little dashes also tell us the measurements too. So I've got one little dash here with the 3, and I'm going to let's make it easy, 3 centimeters. And this is 5 centimeters. I've got a 3 centimeter here. Okay, so that tells me this little dash is the same as this one, so that tells me that this side here is the same. So it's 3 centimeters as well. And that, with all rectangles, that's going to be corresponding sides are the same. And the same here, I've got 2 dashes, 1, 2. So this is now down here 5 centimeters as well. It's the same side. So those dashes can help us out. So perimeter is all about the outside of the shape, how long it is to get around the outside of a shape. So here's my formula. I'm going to have a go. It's I do. I'll just show you here. That's I do. Okay, so the length. I always like to think the length is the longest part of the rectangle. So I'm going to use this formula. So the length is 5 plus the width. The width is 3. So can you see how that measures up? The length is 5, the width is 3, and the length is 5. Okay, and I'm going to bracket that up, and I'm going to times it by 2. So we should all know this really simple addition. In fact, 5 plus 3 equals 8. So now I move down to my next line of working out. I keep everything nice and neat and straight. Times by 2. Okay, and we all know 8 times 2 is 16. If you didn't know, you can just count in 2s till you get to 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So I've counted that on my fingers. Okay, but hopefully you know your multiplication. So 8 lots of 2, or 8 times 2, okay, is equal to 16. Now it's really important that we don't just leave it at 16. We've got to use our unit of measurement. So our unit of measurement's up here. It's 16 centimeters. So all the way around, it's 16 centimeters. And we can even check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now I could check that because I've got it on my grid paper and I've matched it up perfectly. So I've used the formula, length plus width, we added 5 plus 3, times by 2, okay, so we got an 8 here, so 5 plus 3 equals 8, 8 times 2 gives me 16, so that's the perimeter. Now, we'll move on down to here. Now this isn't a rectangle or square, but we can still use the same sort of formula. So once again, say it with me, the formula for perimeter, so perimeter equals length plus width, and we like to bracket that up because that's the first thing we've got to work out, times by 2. So I'm going to have another go here. I've got my little notches, so I know that this side 6 centimeters is the same as this side. I'll put it in centimeters, and I know this side is the same as this side, so that's 2. So the length is 6 plus the width is 2. And I'll write out my full formula still. And then 6 plus 2 equals 8. And 8 times 2, we're going to get the same answer here, aren't we? Equals 16 centimetres. So once again I use the formula, perimeter, so I use the P equals length plus the width. This is the length, this is the width, times by 2, and the perimeter is 16. With shapes like this, the formula doesn't work because the length and the width, we've got 4 different length sides. It only works if you've got a length and a width. We've got 4 different sides. So we can't use the formula for this one, but we can use it for shapes like this, which have 4 sides, 2 sides that are equal, and obviously the one that we just did up here. If you were trying to work out this side, what you could do to work out the perimeter of this shape is you could measure it. So you could get your ruler out and measure it up. Okay, or they might even give you some values and you can just add them up. So if I was doing this one, this shape here, this is roughly 2 centimetres. It's probably going to be a little bit more, but let's say it's 2. This one is 3. This one is also 3. Okay, and then this side is 4, and we can just add them all up. So if I go 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2, that's going to give me, 4 plus 3 is 7, plus another 3 is 10, a perimeter of 12 centimetres. So that's my I do. So I've had a go, now it's time for you to have a go. So if you've got your maths book at home, you've got a show me board or something, you can have a go and we'll do it together. So we're going to do it step by step, but I'm going to give you some thinking time. So here is a shape here, and we're doing the we do together. And I've written down the formula here as well. But let's have a look at the measurements first. We know that this side and this side are the same. If we were using the grid, what do you think that the length of the sides would be? If you said 4 centimetres, you're correct. And so it's the same over here. This side is 4 centimetres. So now we're going to work out this side. Sorry, I should say that this is the width. I always like width to be the smallest one. It doesn't really matter though. And so if we work out here, if you can tell me the length of this side of the rectangle. Hopefully you got 8. Hopefully I'm correct. I got 8 centimetres. And the corresponding side, because it's a rectangle, is also going to be 8. So now I'm going to put it in to our formula here. Length plus width times by 2. So let's write it down at home. See if you can put the values, the correct values, into this formula here. I'll give you some thinking time. And while you're thinking, the reason why we times it by 2, because this is the length, and this is the width. So this is the length, this is the width. And if we add them together, we're only going to get half the perimeter. We need to double it so that we can add this part of the perimeter as well. So hopefully you filled out that formula at home. So let's have a look. You should have the length 8 plus 4 times by 2. So now let's move on to the next stage. We drop down another. I always like to have space in my grid book or on my show me board, so I like to drop down to show my working out. So now what are we going to do? Are we timesing it by 2 first, or are we adding this part of the equation together? Give you some time to think. Hopefully you've added this part of the equation first. So I know that 8 plus 4 equals 12. So now I'm left with 12 times 2. And then I drop down to the last spot in my grid book, and I know that 12 times 2 equals 24. Now, do I leave it like that? Give you some thinking time. The answer is I don't leave it like that. I've got to put my unit of measurement because we've got centimetres. So hopefully you've had a go. The next one is a you-do. I'm going to change the page in my book. Okay, so this is your you-do. This is where you're going to have a go. See if you can remember the formula to work out the perimeter of this shape. You may need to even work out the length. I might help you out soon, but see if you can work out the length. So hopefully that's helping. Alright, so we know that this is 5. I'm going to give that the unit of centimetres, and this is 3. What's this side going to be? What's this side going to be? Okay, I'm going to go through the answer soon, so if you're still working out, you might want to pause the video while you have a crack yourself. But if you're ready to go, I'm going to show you what you should have and what your working out should look like. So we all know that the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle or square is equal to length plus width, bracketed up, times 2. We drop down, we know the length is 5. I always like to use length as the longest side, and the width is 3. So my length is 5 plus 3 times 2. So I'll bracket that up again, and we all know that 5 plus 3 equals 8. We've got a similar theme here with all our answers. 8 times 2, and then 8 times 2 is 16 centimetres, so the perimeter is 16 centimetres. And just to challenge and extend you, if you're working on the perimeter of, let's say, a triangle, there's my triangle. Look at your dashes, and it's very simple. You just add up the sides. So let's use a different unit of measurement. Let's say that this is an interesting farmer's crop, and this is 8 kilometres, and this one is 4.5. Let's make it challenging. We've got to work out the perimeter of this triangle. So it's really easy. We're just going to add up the 3 sides. So I know that this side is 8, so I'm going to add 8. I know this side is also 8 because it's got the same marking, so 8 plus 8. And I know that this is 4.5. So I'm going to bracket up. I might do this first. I might work out this one, do it step by step. 8 plus 8 equals 16. So now I've got 16 plus 4.5. Hopefully you can see that. I'm sorry if you can't see it. I'll make it a little bit easier to see. There we go. And then let's just work with some of our key numbers here. We know 6 and 4 are friends of 10, so they're going to make a group of 10. So 16 plus 4 is going to put it up to 20. And then we've just got this little 0.5, so 20.5. And don't forget to use your unit of measurement, which in this case was kilometres. So hopefully this has helped you, and it'll help you with your coursework. This little lesson matches up with our Year 6 content on your class notebook for Lesson 1, and for our Year 5s it matches up with Lesson 3. Thanks 5/6s, and look for the next video. It's going to be around area, and for our Year 6s we'll have something on capacity as well. Thank you.